big question, and I'm not an attorney, but so we talk about, again, this relic of the 14th Amendment, Section 3, which bars insurrectionists from holding office. Trump, again, never been charged or convicted of insurrection. How does the court in Colorado even use that as the basis of their decision?
Because it's a fairly radical court. It's exactly why it was the first case chosen, first state to file in. They unexpectedly lost at the trial court with a Democrat-appointed judge. And every justice on the Colorado Supreme Court has been appointed by a Democrat, and this was a 4-3 decision. So 3 of them, including the chief judge, thought this was insane. And we represent in that case the Colorado Republican Party. We're a party to 6 of these cases alongside with the Trump campaign. We also represent 16 states with amicus briefs across the country. So we're preparing the briefs and cert petitions for the U.S. Supreme Court as we speak. We started to that night that the case came down. But this is what we expected out of Colorado. We are looking now at Michigan very closely. And of course, you mentioned Colorado. But ultimately, we are confident. And even I think that Colorado court knows that the U.S. Supreme Court is looming, and they could decide this a number of ways. They could decide it on briefing very quickly so that these ballots get printed and get out to the military men and women serving our country all over the world and Americans who live abroad so they get to vote in the primary. But also, they could decide, because of the way it was written into this decision, to take it not as a normal case, but not super speed. I lean towards probably super speed. The big question, is there going to be oral argument in this case, or do they look at the country and say, only one court has done this so far, the rest have put this to bed, or it's still pending, and we can handle this by just briefing?
Yeah. And President Biden spoke to reporters with his opinion on the ruling before his event in Milwaukee yesterday. Take a listen.
Is Trump an insurrectionist, sir?
Well, I think certain things are self-evident. You saw it all. Now, whether the 14th Amendment applies, I'll let the court make that decision. But he certainly supported an insurrection. And no question about it. None. Zero.
Well, I think there's a lot of questions.
One big question. One big question. Due process. It's what upset the other 3 justices in Colorado. And again, I say they're appointed by Democrats, so it's not like these are hard-right conservatives, but they do care about what the 5th and 14th Amendment guarantee, which is due process to Americans, whether you're in state or federal court. Because one of our cases actually in West Virginia got moved to federal court, and that's in a motion to dismiss the entire case right now in summary judgment. Here's the key. Crew, the group behind this in Washington, D.C., partnered up with swamp creatures from Washington, including Republican attorneys who don't benefit from Donald Trump being back in D.C. So you got this unique cabal of Republican attorneys who don't like Trump, the D.C. crowd, and liberal organizations working together to do anything possible to prevent Americans from even having him on the ballot as a primary candidate. I am confident ultimately the U.S. Supreme Court rights this wrong, and I hope it's clear enough that they right the wrong, not just for this primary, not just for Donald Trump, but for all these Republican parties that we represent, because it's not just about this election for them, it's about the future. The Colorado Republican Party said, listen, if this is how they're going to treat us on the primary, we have an option to hold a caucus for our nominating process instead. So we may switch. So it's not as if, again, the Constitution or our legal system was set up for courts to be able to do this without any due process. Donald Trump isn't charged anywhere with insurrection. He was acquitted in both impeachments, so he's got no issues there. And so far, any of these legal issues he's facing right now, insurrection is not there. But again, what a term this is going to be at the U.S. Supreme Court, because this is the case that's going to kick it off. Then we get to presidential immunity. Then we get to January 6th, freedom of speech. And then we get to the abortion pill. I mean, this is going to be another massively important term at the Supreme Court, and it can determine ultimately who the nominee will be for the Republican Party and even who the president might be.
Jack Smith would charge Donald Trump with jaywalking if he could. And I think you make such a good point that Trump was never charged with insurrection. But I think it's so important that the Supreme Court weigh in here and make a ruling soon, not just in the primaries, but also so this doesn't play a role in the general election, even if Trump is not the nominee.